Afternoon, everyone. Prior to today's work session, we are convening an emergency legislative session of the County Council to introduce and vote on the resolution before we begin. Is there a motion to convene this emergency session? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel? Aye. Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
The ayes have it. The emergency session will now begin. Having convened this emergency session, legislative day number 7 will now come to order. Please pause for a moment of silent meditation. Everybody rise. Thank you. I will now call upon Councilman Crandall to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, would you please read the resolution for introduction?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 5-23 is sponsored by all council members. This is a resolution to support Mayor Brandon Scott's denial of discharge permit and request the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to deny future processing of similar wastewater plans at Back River Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Secretary, I believe there's one more important provision.
There is. I was going to read the last part of since this is relatively new and has not really been that publicized, I was going to read the last part if I may.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. The resolution resolves that the County Council expresses its support for Mayor Brandon Scott's decision yesterday to direct his Department of Public Works to modify the discharge permit for Clean Harbor to deny their request to discharge processed wastewater from the cleanup of the Norfolk Southern Railroad derailment into the city's wastewater system, and to request that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency deny any future authorization that would permit processing of wastewater under similar circumstances through the Back River Wastewater Treatment Plant. And it's further resolved that the County Council strongly urges federal, state, city, and county officials to work collaboratively together to address and resolve the systemic issues at the city-owned treatment plants that are located in Baltimore County that provide clean water for the entire region.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve?
Well, hold on, Mr. Chair. I think there's a couple of us that want to,
Okay,
we were sleeping
okay.
when you asked us.
Questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So the last 3 or 4 days have certainly been a whirlwind in my district and beyond. We learned of the EPA's intention to bring contaminated water to Baltimore City to be cleaned and then put into the sanitary sewer system on its way to the Back River Wastewater Treatment Plant. This drew the concern of many, including the county executive, and certainly myself and elected officials in my district. And that concern and opposition extended countywide, statewide, and we worked through the weekend. I want to thank Mr. Bostwick for preparing a resolution that was quite different than the one that we're considering today in today's emergency session. And this resolution came about through a deliberative approach, especially for Councilman Young. I appreciate his approach on this. The whole situation over the last 3 days that we believe to be rectified with the mayor's decision and the Clean Harbor's decision, the company that would accept the waste in a Baltimore City facility from East Palestine, Ohio, that we now can breathe a sigh of relief that this is not coming to our area, which I'm very thankful for. I'm also very thankful for my colleagues on the council. Councilman Catch, Councilman Marks, and Councilman Ertel, as soon as they heard the news, were calling me and asking me about the issue and expressing their support. Other council members took time to educate themselves on the issue. And I mentioned the deliberative approach that Councilman Young took, but Councilman Jones and Councilman Patoka did the same thing. In fact, 5 of us were on a hour-and-a-half long briefing by the EPA at MDE on Saturday afternoon. So a lot of people took a lot of personal weekend time to deal with this particular issue. And it brings to light, the issue has brought to light the fact that the Back River Wastewater Treatment Plant and also the Patapsco Treatment Plant, which is in Councilman Young's district, was also subject to a scathing report issued just a year ago, not even a year ago, by MDE to House and Senate committees. And in those reports, we found that what are supposed to be state-of-the-art facilities that the taxpayers have invested a lot of money in are not operating as they should. And so we're asking for additional oversight. We're asking for the cooperation of the various stakeholders in these plants to get the plants up to their full capacity and operational standards as regulated by the state of Maryland and the EPA. So again, a lot of thanks to go around, and it's been a long few days, but your county council and our support system with the central staff and with our secretary, deputy secretary, answered the call when we needed them, and I certainly appreciate it. And I do appreciate the time that my colleagues have spent on the issue in the past 72 hours or so. I don't know if others have comment, but this is timely, and I believe we'll receive unanimous support from all 7 of us, which is a great thing, and it shows that we can work bipartisanly across party lines. And I think this showed the state of Maryland that we can work together as Democrats, Republicans, Independents. And that's what happened with state legislators and other city legislators all joining in the effort to say we need to stop the train on this, literally. So I'll conclude now, Mr. Chair, and thank everyone again.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Any additional comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is such an important issue. Would it be, in order for me to move that this resolution be sent to the governor, county executive, mayor, and our 2 U.S. senators? I mean, if we pass this and it just sits in the files as passed, I mean, this is an important issue, and I think we need to let our elected officials know our position on this. So,
I thought we were going to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
No, after you, I certainly don't see an issue with it.
Right, I guess my view would be you don't need a motion or a vote because we will
Okay.
do that as a matter of course.
okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to piggyback on Councilman Crandall's work on comments on this. Councilman Crandall, I think you did great on leading the charge on this, along with Councilman Young and others. I think it demonstrates how well we can work together as a council, how we can work well together as a region, and how we can work well together as a state. As Councilman Crandall said, our council dug in on this. Our colleagues across the state dug in on this, and I want to also acknowledge the governor's role, Governor Moore, where he instructed his Director of Intergovernmental Affairs office to pull together elected officials from the Baltimore region, both Republicans and Democrats, to be briefed on Saturday afternoon. And there were some 100 elected officials on this briefing. So I think that's not an easy thing to do during a workday. But I think it was important because we wanted to ensure that the waterways in our region and that flow into the Chesapeake Bay are not contaminated. And while we feel for the people of East Palestine, we do have a responsibility right here to protect our waterways and protect our bay. So just want to acknowledge the good work of leadership at the state level, leadership on the council, and also at the regional level. And I'll take a moment to particularly acknowledge Molly Byron, who is the director of the Intergovernmental Affairs Office in Governor Moore's office, who was instrumental in pulling this meeting off, pulling the meeting together on Saturday. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Young?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and couldn't take my opportunity to thank my colleagues and especially Councilman Crandall for taking the leadership role in making this happen. I think we all recognized, one, when we had little notice about a briefing from the EPA and the state related to the issue, how it would affect Councilman Crandall's district, especially mainly because of the fact that the backriver wastewater treatment plant exists in his district. And with that in mind, working together to, one, have a unified statement, and I appreciate my colleagues' patience and also working through issues so that we could find a statement that stuck to the issue and also the future issue, because while we, at this point, believe we've averted one particular crisis, what has also come to light is that there are current practices, and that was presented to us, that what was going to happen is routine, which was news to city elected officials and county elected officials alike. And moving forward, the sincerity of our statement that we want to work collaboratively with our city partners and our regional partners with the state and our federal partners in Congress to make sure that the facilities that we rely on to provide clean and accessible water to all of our citizens meets not only their expectation, but also meets a standard that we can have trust in, that I believe has been lost over the last multiple years from not only reports, but just also citizens being active and seeing what they've seen at some of the facilities. And with that in mind, we move forward, not only asking, but also offering our collaboration to resolve these issues for the region, not just for our county and not just for one particular jurisdiction based on map lines. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councilman Young. Any additional questions or comments? But I'll just say that, again, I want to take an opportunity to thank you, Councilman Crandall, for your leadership on the issue. Thank all of my colleagues for your hard work and dedication to be 100% clear what was driving us the whole time with all the conversations has been and continue to be to make sure we do everything in our power to protect the citizens of not just Baltimore County, but the citizens of the greater Baltimore region, as well as our waterways, as well as our cherished Chesapeake Bay. So that was the driving force behind everything we did, and we wanted to do it in a collaborative way. And I think our resolution will show that today. So I want to thank everybody for your hard work and dedication and appreciate your leadership on the issue. So there's no other questions or comments from the members. We did have a motion and a second, correct?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 5-23?
Go ahead.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 5-23.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Crandall?
Aye.
Mr. Catch?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Patoka?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Ertel?
Aye. Ayes have it. The resolution is approved. Mr. Secretary, is there any further business to come before the county council?
There is no further business, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion to adjourn this emergency session?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Now, as is customary, we will move on to our work session. We'll start with page 27, Mr. James Benjamin from the Office of Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of a second amendment to a contract with Baker, Donaldson, Behrman, Caldwell, and Berkowitz to continue providing outside legal counsel with respect to litigation filed against the county, as well as myself and former OBF Director Ed Blades regarding alleged violations of the Public Information Act of the PIA. The original contract commenced September 3rd, 2021, continues through the completion of litigation, including post-trial motions. The proposed amendment commences upon council approval and increases the maximum compensation by $100,000 from $250,000 to $350,000 for the entire contract term. This proposed amendment is necessary due to the complex and time-intensive nature of the litigation. The volume and nature of the services has exceeded the reasonable expectations of the parties at the time of entering into the agreement, including a number of factors that were beyond the parties' control. All other terms and conditions of the contract will remain the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Benjamin. We'll move on to.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. We'll move on to page 31. Let's deal with some appointments. Mr. Ertel, the appointment from Michael Selmack, Esquire.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have Michael Stelmack here. He is going to be my Board of Appeals appointment. And I hope you'll treat him nicely, the rest of the council. Michael's a lifelong resident of Baltimore County, lives in Lock Raven Village. I feel like it's going to bring some new energy to the Board of Appeals, and happy to have him aboard, hopefully.
Okay. Mr. Stelmack, come, if you could be so kind as to make sure that green light is on, turn your microphone on. There you go, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and gentlemen of the council. Thank you for your invitation, your consideration today. As Mr. Ertel said, I'm a son of Baltimore County. I grew up in Middle River, and my family moved out to Jacksonville when I was about 11. I reside, as he said, in the 6th District in Lock Raven Village. I practice law here in Baltimore County. My office was in Lutherville, now it's in Towson. My practice lies primarily in estate administration. I help folks when their loved ones pass on to take care of the business of their assets and creditors and taxes. I just wanted to say, my mother is a retired Baltimore County school teacher. My father, a retired Baltimore County police officer. My little brother is a Baltimore County firefighter and was the former chief of the Jacksonville Volunteers. And I'm just proud to be able to join my family in public service. It's never come up until now, but yes, so I very much appreciate your consideration. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, we certainly appreciate your willingness to serve the county in this capacity. And I appreciate your being here this afternoon. Any questions, comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stelmack remembers, how old were you?
I think I was about 16, sir.
16. I met him going door to door in Jacksonville. So a few years ago, I guess.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And it's your uncle I taught in the Nook.
My father's cousin, Melvin Stelmack,
Father's cousin.
Jr.
Okay.
The late Melvin Stelmack, Jr.
Say that.
Sorry, the late Melvin Stelmack, Jr. I'm sorry to say.
Ooh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Certainly will be supporting you and wish you well. It's a lot of work,
That's my understanding.
a lot of work. And, but I think you'll enjoy it. And thank you very much for your willingness to do it.
I look forward to getting to work. Thank
An
you.
important job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, That's it. Thank
I
you.
was just going to say thank you, Michael, for coming in today, and we look forward to a favorable appointment.
Second.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
That was easy, huh?
And next reappointment would be Sharon Bernardi. My appointment to the Board of Appeals. She could not make it today unless is she online? No. She could not make it today. I spoke with her earlier. She's tied up and can't make it, but she will be here Monday. So I will move right along to page 5, Ms. Deb Shendam. Hi, Deb.
Okay. Good afternoon, Councilman Chair and members of the council. I would like to present to you and request approval for a contract for the Classic Lawn and Landscape and Lorenz Inc. to provide a mowing service for a 14-day mow cycle at various locations throughout the county. At no time shall the combined total compensation paid to all contractors exceed the $1,512,000 during the entire life of the contract. This is a one-year contract with 4 one-year renewals. The MBE goal on this is 30%. What we did was we broke this very large contract up into 4 regions so that in hopes that we could get as many contractors apply as we could. There were 6 bidders on this contract that bid on it. And 3 of the 4 areas will go to Classic. 1 will go to Lorenz on this contract. And I'm willing to take any questions that you may have on this.
Questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, I thank you very much, Deb. I certainly appreciate the administration reaching out to try to make sure we spread the wealth and, provide opportunities for all businesses in Baltimore County, especially our smaller businesses.
Absolutely. Thank you for your
Sure.
time.
Thank you very much. This is good. We'll move on to page 18. Director Steve Lafferty, Department of Planning. Director Lafferty, how are you doing today? Good, good.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the administration is requesting an amendment to an existing contract with the Nelson Ideation Group LLC to provide consulting services in order to expand the scope of the current project, which is in place to create a community development organization on Liberty Road. This amendment would enable the Nelson Group to move inside the Beltway and also focus on the communities in that part of the county. We find that they have a lot of the similar issues and concerns, a lot of interest in that part of the county to participate in order to create a community development organization. It's going to be working with the neighbors and the commercial corridor. The Nelson Ideation Group is a Black and woman-owned local business. They have a subcontractor, Standard Cheney Enterprises, which is also a Black and woman-owned enterprise. So we're very fortunate that we have a local owner who is engaging in the community to help create this community development organization. The contract would be for an additional $50,000. They submitted a request for an additional $24,975. And we've added additional money as contingency so that should there be additional needs, we do not have to come back for a future amendment. I believe that this will allow us to achieve our goals of actually creating the organization and getting someone hired by the fall so that we can get started on addressing the priorities that the residents have begun to identify for us.
Well, we thank you, Director Lafferty, because so many times, it's important that we include all of the Liberty Road corridor, especially when we are talking about Randallstown. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I know the difference between Lockern, Randallstown, Woodlawn, you name it, but to so many people, it's all Randallstown. And we should never forget our inner Beltway communities. They, so, yes, Ms. Rogers?
Good afternoon.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman and council members. And we're really pleased that the expansion of the contract really will do that, particularly as we note communities inside the Beltway, communities that likewise have needs and have development. There are two strip malls within the Beltway, and we wanted everyone to ensure everyone that just as much attention and effort along the entire Liberty Road corridor is being taken into consideration.
And on that note, I will also just like to thank the county executive for his continued dedication and commitment to the community. And he and his administration has certainly put his money where his mouth is. So we certainly appreciate that very much, and it does not go unnoticed in my community. We certainly appreciate it. Any additional questions or comments? Councilman
Yes.
Soka?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Mr. Lafferty. This is a priority for me. I'm meeting with the county executive on budget priorities on the 30th, I think 2 days from now. So I can take this one off the list because hopefully council will approve it. But I think it's really critical because we have such strong neighborhoods along the Liberty Road corridor. You begin with Powder Mill Park right at the city line. That's opportunity. There's the aging U.S. Post Office 21207. It's been there. It's been as it is since I was a kid. That was a long time ago. And so there's opportunity there. And the other opportunity is the strength of the neighborhoods on either side of Liberty Road, east and west, that continue to be strong and continue to have community leaders that are committed, going. You have the Epworth Church, which is another opportunity, which has been an icon for generations on Liberty Road. The Woodmore Shopping Center, and the Villanova community, the Deerfield community, Powhatan Farms, Lockern, where I grew up. I mean, I grew up just a few steps from the Liberty Road corridor, from Liberty Road in Lockern on Forest Garden Avenue, which is really a lovely street. So this is personal for me. It's personal for the communities I represent, and I'm delighted that this has been added to the contract. So thank you, Mr. Lafferty. Thank you to the administration, county executive.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? No? Thank you very much, Director
Thank you.
Lafferty. We'll move on to page 22, Ms. DeAndrea Walker. Director Walker, how are you doing?
Well, thank you.
Good.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with A. Morton Thomas Associates, Inc. to provide Tier 2 on-call civil engineering, transportation, and structural design services throughout the county. This contractor in particular will provide on-call engineering services such as transportation and structural design services throughout the county. The services will include things such as roadway and intersection design and transportation planning, transportation engineering, surveying, drainage design, and environmental permitting, to name a few. This was a competitively bid contract. It was awarded to the best qualified. There is a 20% MBE on this contract, and the compensation for this is $4 million for the entire 7-year term. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions, comments from the members? Yes, Councilman Crandall.
Councilman Marks? Mine is off topic.
Okay, go ahead, that's fine.
Okay. Director Walker, just want to thank you, Madam CAO, Mr. Reed, Corporal Wilhelm from the Police Department, Deputy Chief Russell, and the 10 other people that I'm missing that attended the community update for Baltimore County's work traffic groups outreach effort to inform the District 7 citizens of the height monitoring enforcement system that the county will be implementing in the near future. Thank you so much. I thought the presentation was very thorough and didn't elicit a lot of questions. So I know there was some follow-up that was expected after the meeting, and we'll get to that. But 6:30 on a weeknight, and you all were there addressing our constituents personally, and I thought that was important. And I did get some messages afterwards of people that didn't identify themselves on the WebEx, but we're very excited and pleased that this is happening in our district. So thank you to all and the others that I didn't mention that were involved in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you very much. I'm assuming this would help pay for traffic circles to be designed, right?
Yes, sir, it will.
Including in Perry Hall, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And Randallstown and Woodlawn and Woodmore and Owings Mills and Reisterstown and Glendon too, right?
There's one I specifically have in mind.
Lutherville,
that's fine.
Timonium, Cockeysville.
I'm writing all of those down.
And Dundalk and Essex and Rosedale and
No.
Parkville. Parkville, Overly, Sparrows Point, Edgemere, Hyde Park, Fort Howard.
You got those things
I
down.
got them. I got them all down.
Thank you very much.
We've
Thanks
become
for
the British,
reminding us.
Kearney, Parkville.
Carney.
we've become the British Parliament.
Pat, Arbutus,
This is
Arbutus, Catonsville,
The
Lansdowne.
Woodlawn, Baltimore Highlands.
This is being recorded so we can make sure the director, gets it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, is there any, wait, did we miss one, Ms. Rogers?
And might we add just management by humor? I guess this is an Oprah moment. One for you, one for you, one for you, one for you. one for
You get a circle, you get a circle, you get a circle.
it's almost April Fool's Day, but I just thought that I would just add some humor and levity to our circle work. Thank you, Director Walker.
Thank you very much, Director.
Mr. Secretary, this is recorded, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Katz.
So the promise that was just made,
I said humor, not promise.
I don't know what you mean about that.
Ones that are fully budgeted. Right, Ms. Rogers? Ones that are fully budgeted.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Aspirational.
There you go.
Next, we'll move on to Deputy Director Lawrence Richardson.
Good afternoon, Chairman Jones. Are we looking at the contract amendments?
Yes.
Okay. The administration is seeking the council's approval of 12 amendments for existing contracts to provide prevention, early detection, and diagnosis and treatment for cancer in low-income residents. The federal CDC and the state of Maryland Department of Health have awarded funds to Baltimore County's Department of Health for the purpose of prevention, early detection, and diagnosis for cancer in low-income Maryland residents. The Baltimore County Department of Health Cancer Program contracts with local providers to provide clinical services in accordance with the CDC and the state of Maryland mandated standardized requirements. The original 12 provider contracts were established to allow customers the option to choose from a list of providers located throughout Baltimore County. Those providers include Dr. Steve Adishak, Adventist Healthcare, doing business as Capital Choice Pathology, Baltimore Ambulatory Center for Endoscopy, Baltimore Medical System, Dion Systems, Inc., Digestive Disease Associates, Endoscopy Center of North Baltimore, Doctors Goldberg, Rosenstein, Kahn, and Foreman, Teresa Hoffman and Associates, Dr. Jacob Khan, North American Partners of Anesthesia, and Dr. Shadiki. All 13 provider amendments listed have been reviewed and approved by Baltimore County Office of Law. And if the County Council approves, these amendments and contracts will be extended for 1 year.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much. Director Richardson. Now we will move on to page 2. Deputy Director Richardson again.
Yes.
Retail Flexible Funding Model Grant.
Yes, sir. The administration is seeking an approval of a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $26,500. This is a new grant for our food inspection program within Baltimore County Department of Health and Environmental Health Services. The program is created by the National Environmental Health Association, FDA, and the Maryland Department of Health. It plays a role in ensuring that environmental health specialists have the required knowledge to regulate retail program plans and to address the risk factors most commonly associated with foodborne illness in food establishments. There are 9 standards that were written and provide a framework to design, accommodate both traditional and emerging approaches to food safety. So this funding is a voluntary national retail program that our Department of Health, Environmental Health inspectors will take part in to help to increase their knowledge of retail food safety and raise the level of the regulatory retail food program managers in the design and management of a retail food regulatory program. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much, Director Richardson.
Thank you.
Now we move on to page 1. Bill 11-23. Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. This is a holdover. I asked for the council to delay a final vote on this bill until the Area Improvement Association and I and the administration could continue to work on the bill. But just to recap the background I provided at the last work session, in 1994, my predecessor, Councilman Gardina, sponsored legislation that designated the Honeygo area in northeastern Perry Hall. The intent was to improve building standards in this area and attract homeowners to northeastern Baltimore County instead of moving to places like Harford County. And it has been a spectacular success. Anyone who drives out to that part of Baltimore County recognizes that there's enhanced architectural standards and many parks and an overall feeling of attractiveness that has attracted many homeowners to this area. Let me quote 2 developers who worked on projects back then. This is from the 1999 Baltimore Sun. Quote, "Perry Hall is hot," said Paul Amirault, Vice President of Maryland Landmark Homes, which built 48 single-family homes in Honeygo. He expected to be working at Perry Hall Farms for 2.5 years, but sold out of houses in 14 months. Added builder Lawrence Max. I think many of you know Larry Max, president of Max & Max, which is building Honeygo's commercial district. Quote, "Baltimore County is a very desirable place, and there are very few places you can build new houses." So developers worked with Councilman Gardina and the community and other stakeholders to create this area, which worked. They bought into tougher standards. What I'm trying to do now is extend the Honeygo area in the prohibition against panhandle lots into communities that were not part of my district before the last election. So panhandle lots, which are used by some builders to cram homes into a development, will be prohibited throughout all the Honeygo area now that the entire growth area is in the 5th Councilmatic District. I will be deleting language in here that requires for open space to be internalized to that specific project. I've been working with the administration on this. I understand their concerns. We are going to continue to look for ways to retain the forest cover in Honeygo. Retaining our tree canopy is a goal for Baltimore County, and we'd like to once again show that Honeygale can lead the way. So I urge your favorable consideration of this bill, which is supported by the Perry Hall Improvement Association, and will continue the excellent track record we have in Perry Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the members? I do believe we have a speaker.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one speaker. Mr. Isaac Abruzzo. Mr. Abruzzo, you are on as a panelist. You may begin your testimony when you're ready.
Chair Jones, good afternoon, Councilman. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I am Isaac Abruzzo. I'm speaking on behalf of the Maryland Building Industry Association. So I have had the opportunity to talk with a number of my members regarding the banning of the use of panhandle lots, and gotten pretty deep into this topic. So panhandle lots generally are just properties with limited street frontage, and it's difficult to see the utility in banning these lots. For one, according to many of the people that I've spoken to, many consumers prefer panhandle lots. And it should kind of be up to them whether they like this housing type. It often provides additional privacy that consumers would prefer, and sometimes there are price decreases in these lots, although that's not universally true. But the housing market only supports housing that is in demand, and limiting this type of housing smacks of making design requirements for aesthetic rather than practical regulation. These lots provide no density bonus, and they already require county approval. So banning their construction in the Honeygale area would limit design options that are available to both developers and planners, while severely restricting a popular consumer option. Additionally, these lots are restricted from development. Baltimore County will lose a significant portion of its already restricted developable land. So this further contributes to a massive housing shortage that we currently face both here and across the state. We're short an estimated 120,000 housing units statewide, according to the Maryland Realtors Association, and instituting a blanket ban on panhandle lots, which are already subject to conditional appeal, is actively seeking to further restrict housing options. I am delighted to hear that there is apparently an amendment to this bill to remove the open space design requirements because for all of the reasons that Councilman Marks pointed, I'm sure discussed with the administration, these are a little difficult to work and might have some unintended consequences. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the MBIA position regarding panhandle lots. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? Councilman Patoka?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ambrosio, question. So I've always been troubled by panhandle lots and never thought that there was a desire to be looking in someone else's backyard. And so panhandle lot, you're not facing the street, but you're looking at the yard of another house or two other houses. And does that make the house more valuable or less valuable?
I can't speak to the value. As far as I can tell from discussions with my membership, it doesn't usually have a great impact on the value of the house. I can tell you that some consumers prefer it precisely because it's not on the street and it sort of creates an additional layer of privacy. I think one of the other things that you may be overlooking is that a lot of houses with limited street frontage don't necessarily just stare into backyards. There's sometimes an open space buffer. If you think about a cul-de-sac with open space in between, the houses on the cul-de-sac and the houses over to the next street, that's not always the case. So you're not just restricting panhandle lots that are in that shape and staring at one another and going back. You'd also be restricting some pretty significant design standards that are used in cul-de-sac and suburban development.
That's an opinion. Thank you.
I'll say something.
Go right ahead.
So, if we only cared about density, our communities would look a lot different, wouldn't they? I'm just going to quote my predecessor, Councilman Gardina. This is from the Baltimore Sun, November 4th, 1997. And he got the same criticisms back then. It's not dense enough. Quote, if the county would have moved forward quickly prior to 1990, we would have been stuck with 12,000 pieces of junk out there. Instead, we got a beautiful community with tough architectural standards that obviously is growing despite the fact that there's a prohibition on panhandle lots in most of it right now. I think this is a reasonable change that's supported by the community, and I urge you to support it.
Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, we will.
Chair, I have one.
Oh,
just
go right
one
ahead, Councilman Nurtuck.
additional comment. In the Honey Go area in particular, we have several overcrowded schools. Some of those schools or some of that school overcrowding affects a school in my district, Overly High School, which we talked to residents last night. They already have 7 trailers. They're getting 5 new trailers for the fall. They have an auditorium that doesn't work. No sound system, the lighting sparks when they turn on all the lights. We have continued in Baltimore County to neglect our infrastructure, mostly our schools, and a lot of it is because of the density that we have. And until we're ready to address these issues, this overlay district item is something that is helpful in stressed area.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but hearing Councilman Ertel and I think of our overcrowded schools and the fact that, I believe that our adequate public facilities laws are inadequate. And when I heard Councilman Patoka talk about Epworth Methodist Church on St. Luke's Lane, I'm really going somewhere with this. My family and I went there for years. And for years, the Sunday school part of that building was rented by the Baltimore County Public Schools when the schools were so crowded at the time. I think it was probably the 1960s or 70s. When I think of some of the Catholic schools that have closed, and we do have vacant buildings out there, school buildings. And I would urge the Board of Education to take a close look at it. At renting some of these facilities so that we don't have these overcrowded schools. This situation did work, absolutely worked. I think that our school system needs to take a serious look at that. When the Hampton redistricting, Hampton and Pleasant Plains was being considered, I offered some alternatives to the plan that was ultimately approved by the board. And one of the plans proposed to utilize some of the vacant or only used on weekend schools in that same area. Of course, it was ignored by the school board. So, when you have situations where schools are overcrowded, I think it's our obligation to try to remediate the problem. And I do get concerned with the trailers. I wonder how safe they are. In this world we live in today, they're sitting out there separated from the school. And so I think we need to look at creative ways to solve this overcrowding problem until we can catch up and until this county can take a serious look at adequate public facilities so that, we will be guided by the facilities that are in place before we keep adding to the burden. So, I have spoken to the school board a couple times, not the current one, about this. With our county attorney, is there any reason why the school system can't rent a religious school building that's vacant? Would there be any reason, separation of church and state, any reason at all why we couldn't do that? Why the county couldn't do it?
If you wouldn't mind, Councilman Cash, I'd like to look at that issue
Okay.
and then report back to the group before Monday.
Okay,
I
great.
mean, I don't want to give spot
Right.
analysis. I would like a chance to look at that, if that's okay.
Oh, fine. Yeah, we obviously we need to find out. And at the time that it was happening at Epworth, obviously it wasn't a problem then. So hopefully it's still not a problem to have these empty buildings there. I know that, was it St. Pius the 10th on York Road has been closed how long? About a year and a half. And I suspect that building, some of it is, it's for sale. Oh, okay. So, that would be in case, if they aren't able to sell it in a timely manner, maybe the county can consider renting it so that we can really do something about the overcrowding at Towson High School, at the other schools in the central area. Thank you.
So I'll look at that and I'll make sure to have an answer for the group before Monday. You're welcome.
Councilman Marks?
It's interesting how many of our conversations recently come back to this issue of school overcrowding. No matter the topic, we had an adequate public facilities task force that met and has lied dormant and is waiting for action. And I hope that some of those listening here and elsewhere will give us recommendations for dealing with this problem, because we need to act. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to page 31, Resolution 4-23. Councilman Toka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an exciting day for the beautiful Second District of Baltimore County. We started this meeting with the west side of the district, the Liberty Road corridor, and now we're going to move over to the east side of the beautiful Second District, and we're going to talk about, and some of my colleagues have heard me talk about the RRLRAIA, otherwise known as the Ruxton Ryder Wood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association. You knew that, Mr. Bostwick, didn't you? And it is really a lovely community. And the Ruxton Ryder Wood Lake Roland area plan has been developed, has been worked on over the last few years. And the advocates and residents and leadership that are here today would like the council to adopt Resolution 423, which would amend this as part of the, and this is a little bit odd, but as part of Master Plan 2020, the Baltimore County Master Plan 2020. Now, the Planning Department and Executive Office are currently working on Master Plan 2030, but since we have not enacted it yet, our only vehicle to enact it to is the Master Plan 2020. But I would urge my colleagues to not only think of this as an amendment to Master Plan 2020, but as we deliberate over Master Plan 2030, that the Ruxton Ryder Wood Lake Roland area plan be considered as part of that deliberation. The community has been quite spirited in developing this plan. The representatives that I think are going to speak today are really outstanding residents of Baltimore County because they're super volunteers in so many ways. You'll hear from Mr. Khan, who not only as president of the Ruxton Riderwood Association, but also a volunteer firefighter. You hear from Mr. Budnitz, who is not only very active in the community association, but also a super volunteer at Lake Roland Park in terms of being a steward for the entire park and with all of the volunteers that help to make Lake Roland be a spectacular place, not only for the second district, not only for Baltimore City, but for Baltimore County and the region. So with that, I would urge you to support the passage of this resolution. And I do think we are going to have some speakers, Mr. Chair, on this. Thank you so much.
Before we have speakers, Mr. Secretary, what is the procedure to censure Mr. Patoka for his outburst?
Well,
Councilman Crandall, I'm just so excited.
I can tell.
Yeah, and I also have the Beastie Boys ringing in my ears from a discussion we had prior to the meeting.
I was just going to recommend coffee.
Well, any additional questions or comments from the members? We have two speakers.
I have one comment, Chair.
Yes, Councilman.
So I'm also, my district abuts and actually part of this plan comes into my district. A fun fact about the Ruxton, Riderwood, Lake Roland Association. They really got their start, and I guess you guys can correct me if I'm wrong when you come up. But back in I guess it was the 60s or late 50s, the State Highway Department was going to run 83. 83 goes onto the Beltway. We have that weird connection. That weird connection is because the State Highway Department didn't really care about the neighborhood. They were just going to run the highway right through the Ruxton Riderwood area, and it would have been a much different place than it is today. And it's just an example of the importance of good, strong neighborhood associations. While it might be a strange connection, it saved a community, and that has really thrived. So,
Mr. Chair. Councilman Taylor, are you excited about the project, though? Oh, good.
I'm very excited.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I think that it's really tragic about this resolution because the 20 years that I represented this area, there was no need for a plan like this. Everything was perfect. And now we need a redevelop. I'm really confused and really upset over this. This is right next to my district too, just like Councilman Ertel. So, I'm very upset.
Well, thank you, Councilman Katch. We all strive for perfection. None of us are quite there, but we continue to push towards that goal. And also wanted to thank Councilman Ertel for co-sponsoring this. I think that Lake Roland is a regional amenity, and even, and as we kind of enhance access from the east side, from your district, Councilman Ertel, I think it's important for the entire region. So that's why I'm excited. And let's move towards perfection as step by step. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues.
Thank you. And why don't we, at some point, launch an investigation into this water that everybody's drinking. I'm not sure who provided it for us, but don't drink it all. Let's have it tested.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
we are being recorded
right.
and we have guests.
Absolutely.
I think we should be on better behavior. I apologize.
It's okay. Why don't we move on to the speakers? And we will start with Jeffrey Budnitz. who's here today.
May I begin?
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you. Second, I wanted to welcome Councilman Ertel and Councilman Young to the council. This is the first time I've spoken in front of them. Mike and I crossed paths numerous times in his significant work in his community. Councilman Young, when he was a delegate, he and I crossed paths on therapeutic equine at one point. So it's just a pleasure. Councilman Ertel, just so you know, if you had been incorrect, I would not have corrected you. I don't find that helps resolution passage. So, but you are correct. And when you look at the totality of the plans that we've had in our community, one being the byproduct of the revitalization of what was Robert E. Lee Park, the renaming of Robert E. Lee Park, and now Lake Roland, and the fact that during the peak of the pandemic, we almost hit 800,000 park patrons. I-83 would have run right through the middle of that park. So when you look at unanticipated, unintended consequences, the act of Ruxton Riderwood decades ago really set the stage for positive things to happen. I can attest to Councilman Marks, who I'm very fond of, that this community plan will have no school impact. So from that standpoint, I feel very good about it. And I do hope that this plan is as transformative for the next decade as the prior plans that I've worked on. I've been on the board for 23 years. I'm also a founding board member of the Lake Roland Nature Council. I volunteer in a number of nature sites from Benjamin Banneker, Oregon Ridge, Ag Center, around to Marshy Point. So from that standpoint, I highly value the work you all do in your community. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
And-
And we certainly appreciate your service to the community and the service to Lake Roland. So thank you so much.
And may your town hall go well tomorrow night.
Thank you. Yep. Next speaker, Mr. Khan.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, before you, you have what we believe to be our fourth community plan from the association. So while I don't want to correct Councilman Catch, we actually did have a plan, and it's something that we use as a guide for all of our committees as we move forward, as well as partnership with the county. Just to provide some background, we know that many community associations develop plans just among their board members. What we did is we actually sought input from 1,000 of our 4,000 plus residents. Of the 1,000 that we sent surveys to, over 50% responded. So the 5 items that you see in the main part of the community plan all came from members of the community, not just from the board, including items like crime, Falls Road, sewer, flooding. Those items all came from input from the community itself. The 6th item, which was added as a result of the hearing with the planning board, was increased access to the Lake Roland Park from the east, meaning access point across Charles Street into the park. So that was added as a result of the hearing with the planning board. We support that position from the planning board, but we just wanted you to be aware of that. It did not come from our community because, quite frankly, our community, for the most part, is west of Charles Street. But we think it's a great way to integrate and has been part of our plan in the past. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the plan, but you have it before you, and it's self-explanatory, we hope. It is meant to be, and I think also provides the blueprint for us to work with the various county departments like zoning, development, code enforcement, things along those lines, as well as sewer, flooding issues, crime, things that affect our community.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, Jamie, when I represented the area, the community association is very, very strong, very active. And they were successful in blocking the light rail from having any stops in Lake Roland, Ruxton, Riderwood completely. It goes from Lutherville down to Falls Road, and that's it. There's no
Correct.
stops.
Correct.
Does the community association has there been any change in the people in the community desiring a light rail stop?
Well, Councilman, we've received no feedback to that. Quite frankly, there really isn't an adequate place to put a station to supply parking as well as access.
Yeah.
So I think it probably would not make sense to put it in the community, nor, as I said,
Yeah.
have we received any input from any community members regarding that.
Yeah, obviously, the state would have to build a parking lot.
Right. And there really isn't a location that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
No, sure.
You know, the light rail has a 12% fare box return. And, always looking for ways to encourage people to use it.
Right.
Because it's quite a strain on the finances of the taxpayers of Maryland. So thank you.
And I do think that many of our community use the light rail, but
Yeah.
would typically go either to the Lutherville site or go to the Falls Road site.
Falls Road side. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
So, and I still support Lutherville as a firehouse, so I'm still in your community and serve as president, so. Any questions? or-
Mr. Any questions or comments from the members? I want to thank you very much again for your service to the community as well as your service to the fire service. We certainly appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Well, any additional questions or comments from any of the members?
I have
before we adjourn?
I have
Yes.
one, Chair. I'd just like to give a little shout out to my new intern, Connor White. Connor has come to us through when we were at the Central Democratic Club. I met him there, and he was telling me that he went to CCBC and is working on their GIS degree that they have there. And we brought him aboard, and he's already moving us into the 21st century in our office. So I just wanted to say thank you, Connor, for being here. And this, he purposely wanted to see the legislative process today and the work session. And I said, well, this is really cool because not only is it a work session, but we have this emergency meeting, which is new to me, as a new council person. This is the first time I've had this happen. So you got to see a little bit of rare history on the council. Plus, we're a little punch drunk, it seems like.
Connor, we don't always get along like this, so come on back and see us when we don't like each other again.
Come back and watch us fighting. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Oh, no, look. Neither do I. All right, everyone. Have a great evening. Sure.
Thank you, sir.